So we have, I am really tall. We have a gospel today. I'm going to take this chair. That we have a gospel today that on the one hand doesn't really look like the gospel I probably would have picked if I was thinking about calling all the kids up, all of you guys up to hear this. But it's the story Jesus told, and when Jesus tells a story, they're called parables. And Jesus told this story about, you guys, Jesus told a story about a rich man that had lots of money, and he wore purple all the time, and he ate all of the food he wanted all of the time and had big dinner parties. And right outside of this rich man's house was a poor man who was so hungry he wanted the crumbs that fell from the rich man's table. But when Jesus tells the story, he says that the rich man didn't give him anything. He didn't give him the crumbs from his table. He didn't share anything with him. Jesus tells the story, and he has these two men that are very much the same, but they're really separated from each other. And the reason they're separated from each other is because the one man who had things wouldn't share them with the other man who didn't have anything. The rich man had all of this stuff, and he could have really helped the poor man, but he wanted it all for himself. And we all know, not only all of us, maybe all of us, how difficult sharing really is. And St. John Chrysostom, one of our great saints, he wrote the liturgy that we pray right now on Sunday mornings. All of the prayers we're doing, St. John compiled them and wrote them. St. John Chrysostom said that the wealth the rich man had, all that extra money, was given to him by God to give to the poor man. That's why he had extra. He had enough for himself, but he actually had extra. He had kind of a little too much. And St. John Chrysostom says he wasn't supposed to blow it on purple clothes and fancy lunches and stuff. He was supposed to have clothes and food and share the extra with the guy that didn't have any. Sharing can be really hard. And we might think that whatever we have is just ours and we don't have to share it. That's mine, you know. Now, I am a father and I have 3 children. Emma, John, and Sam. And certainly while they were younger, and probably even still to this minute, anything they have is because I gave it to them. By and large, Emma's working, so she'll take offense. But mostly, and certainly when they were little, anything my kids had, a house, toys, food, clothes, anything they had, stuff, bikes, anything they had it because I wanted them to have it. I gave it to them to play with, to enjoy, and to share. I didn't give them any things like toys or clothes or whatever to say, this is mine and I'm not sharing. Anything I've given to my kids, I wanted it to be for their benefit. I wanted them to love it, but I also wanted them to not keep it from others. And I don't want my children to have anything that I don't know about. I want to know what they have. I want it to be good for them, right? Well, we have a Father in heaven who has given us everything. Our clothes, our toys, our parents, our friends, our schools, or whatever we have. Anything we have, our Father has given it to us. And he's given it to us so that we would enjoy it. Because it's good. Clothes are good. Toys are good. Food is good. These things are good. And the only reason they go kind of where they're not okay is when we say, I'm not sharing my stuff. When Jesus tells a story, he wants us to all get it. A parable is a story that has meaning. So when he talks about the rich man, he kind of knows that we might be kind of like that guy. That we have some things and we don't want to share them. But we're to share them not only with, some of us have brothers and sisters, some of us don't. But in the larger community of the church, we all have turn around and look at all these people. That's your family. All of you have some family here, your mom or dad or grandparents or something. And then all of these people, all right, look back at me. All of these people are your family. But not only them, not only are they your family who you should share with, but also your friends. If you go to school, your friends at school. If you're involved in like different little like play groups or something like that, the people there. But not only them, also the poor. Also the poor man. So something we've done at St. Ignatius just a week ago, last Sunday, is some of the men in the parish went and they fed the poor in downtown Mesa. And there were 220 or something, and a bunch of them were just families that didn't have enough food. And we have enough food, and we have enough money. Many of us have extra. Not you guys, but your parents. They have extra. They have more than they need. And I have more than I need. And when I read this gospel, and Jesus says, if you have more, you are supposed to share that with the poor. And we don't want to know our things apart from our brothers or sisters or family. And we don't want to know our things apart from God. Yes. We don't want to know our things apart from God. Anything we have, we want him to know about. And it makes the Father happy when the kids enjoy what they have and share what they have. Just as it makes me happy when Emma John and Samuel share what they have and don't know it apart from me. They let me know what they have and they take joy in what I give them. That's the way the Father is. St. Basil the Great, one of our great saints, he said that the extra food we have, the extra shoes we have that are in our closets, the extra clothes we had and have, and we could go farther and say the extra bicycles that we have, the extra stuff doesn't belong to us anymore. It belongs to the poor. He actually, St. John goes so far to say that when you give someone who's poor something, you're actually giving it back to him. That our extra stuff actually is his. It belongs to him. We're not like, aren't I great? You may have my extra t-shirt. We say, hey, here's your shirt back. I have an extra. This really does belong to you. Just as we belong to God, like my kids belong to me, and they belong with me. They're mine. I love them. Not like a possession, not like my glasses, like these belong to me. But they've been given to me also. They're like my kids were also given to me by God. And they kind of belong to me. We belong to God. And we belong with God. And God is very generous. He loves us and he gives us everything we need. Life itself. The last thing in the gospel. So that's the first thing in the gospel. The last thing is very short. That's long. The first thing is long. Being generous, right? To share. If you're going to say two things, the first one is we have to share, right? The second thing is at the very end. He basically says we have to read the Bible. He said that one man's talking and asking about how will they know about sharing and know about God. He says they have to read Moses and the prophets. Those are writings from the Old Testament, right? And the stories about Jesus. They have to know these things. And that man actually says, well, what if someone would go to them from the dead? Like rise from the dead, like Jesus has risen from the dead. What if Jesus rises from the dead? Would they even believe then? He said, well, they need to be reading the Bible or they'll miss that too. So the Gospels really, when I first looked at it, I was thinking, I'm not sure this got a lot to say to all of us, even to me. But first thing is we need to share what we have. Anything that's extra, we need to share. It belongs to others. And the second thing is we need to read the Bible. So you guys share your stuff. Share your stuff. And we need to read the Bible, all of us. Have your parents read it to you. Or get one to read. Do you have a question?
Yeah. We always don't be greedy. We don't be greedy.
We don't be greedy all the time. Yes. We want to even say, don't be greedy any of the time, at all, ever of the time. If you guys want, you can sit up closer or you can go back to where you were sitting. Go on back to your folks. I want to end with this last thing. Not to enable the poor to share in our goods is to steal from them and deprive them of life. The goods we possess are not ours but theirs. That's St. John Chrysostom. Christians love one another. That's the mark of a Christian. To hoard our stuff, like we all kind of do, at least to some degree, is not the mark of a Christian. The mark of the Christian is generosity. It's love for the stranger. And I'll end with this. Yesterday, knowing this was the sermon, already prepared, I was just challenged again. I think we get challenged by this all the time. And if we ever get to the point where we're not challenged by this, we need to read a little of these quotes about St. Basil the Great and St. John Chrysostom about our commitment to the poor, our relationship with the poor. I was driving out of the parking lot at a Walgreens and there was a guy begging. These were not my thoughts. Everything I've shared with our kids and with all of us, that's not the way I was thinking. I didn't look at that guy and go, I've got extra. I got tons of extra. All right, something's got to be done about this guy. I'm like, what's this guy doing? I'm ashamed of it. I'm not bringing it up like, hey, isn't that funny? I'm just like, God. So I want this to soak into myself as well. As much as sermon, you saw I was sneaky. As much as a sermon for you guys, I was saying it to the kids as well. But it's really ultimately for me as well. I'm not an exception to this. That our hearts need to stay soft, and I really think that's why there's the kicker at the end about Moses and the prophets. That if we are reading the scriptures, our hearts will stay soft. If we're not, they will not stay soft. That's it. The cure for a hard heart is Christ. And we read about Christ, we see him in the scriptures. Moses, the prophets, into the New Testament. He is on every page. So let us think on these things. Let us not hoard our things. Let us not have anything apart from the Father. Let's not know our stuff or anything apart from the Father. The rich man dies and he's not cared for because he didn't care for the poor. Jesus says, when you have done it to the least of these, you have done it to me. He accepts the gift to the guy I blew off. He would have accepted that as a gift to himself. So we need to see Christ in the poor. Not see the poor as whatever, a problem or something. We need to see him there. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.